All right, a little bit of Monday early afternoon baseball, 2:15 here on the East Coast, Eastern Standard Time. Been a lot of good baseball people have been doing over the weekend. Um, so do make sure to please subscribe to all the great content creators in the community. And to those of you who are not content creators, keep the good stuff coming up there in the Discord and in the chats for all the communities that you visit, talking about your own product, your own projects. They're important. They're important. They are no less important than what we do here as YouTube folks. So we've been a while since we visited the Decade Leagues and Action PC Baseball. We've had a couple significant updates to Pocket Pennant Run. Been doing some out of the park baseball on here. Had a nice baseball chin wag the other night. So I like to kind of rotate things around and stuff like that. And probably in the coming days, you'll see me stream a couple games that I normally don't, just to get ready for the Super Baseball-tastic extravaganza on the 9th February. All right, so today we got about 3 good games on tap here, just to decide which one to choose. All pretty good matchups here. So the 1920s versus the 19th century. It's Epirixi taking hill for the 1920s against Old Haas Radbourne in the 19th century. Don't see a cousin Ken Castro here, so we probably won't do that game. Fergie Jenkins versus John Smoltz, the 1970s versus the 2000s. And then we also have the 1900s versus the 1930s. It's Jack Cheeseborough versus Lefty Grove. So I think for afternoon baseball, I don't know how many people are in here for the older stuff. So let's do Jenkins and Smoltz. And again, we're just playing this using League Park in Cleveland as a neutral background. We'll go ahead and put the human on 1970s. 1970s come into this game, 5 wins, 4 losses. The 2000s, 3 wins and 6 losses. Let's play some baseball. For people watching, if you're at work, enjoy. If you're at home, just chilling out, also, I hope you enjoy. All right. Let's see here. Oh, that looks pretty good. Let's go. Hey, there's Samuel Smith. Early matinee indeed. These usually only happen on Mondays. All right, welcome to League Park for continuing action in the Decades League, a older subset of the baseball history collection from DK Sports. And we're going to have Fergie Jenkins, 2 starts in the year, and he's 1-1. His ERA coming into tonight's game, or today's game, I should say, an ERA of 6.00. And John Smoltz takes the hill for the 2000s squad, and he's 2 starts in the year, and he is 0-2 in an ERA of 5.40. So this will be his first start against the 70s. 56 degrees here at game time in Cleveland. Wind speed 6 miles per hour. Out to left center field, and I realized that there's not a 2010s on here. So unless Dave is going to update this, I may just go ahead and create a 2010s Decade League just to have them. Not for this, but maybe for another project. All right. Hey, there's David Baseball Dummies. Says, hey, Beatles, I'm about just driving and watching the wheels go round and round. That counts. It definitely does. Great song from John Lennon's Double Fantasy album. All right. Let's get to it. David said in a previous broadcast that he thinks he's figured out the volume issue in OBS, and hopefully it will be soon, if he hasn't done so already, a live broadcast of Out of the Park Baseball. David recently, a recent player to Out of the Park. So we'll be looking forward to that, David. Joe Morgan leads things off here for the 1970s. Again, they come into this game 5-4. The 3000s, they're starting to pick it up now a little bit. They had a dismal start to the season, but have won their last 2, so they're 3-6. Morgan hitting 270 in the year with a home run and 5 runs batted in. Smoltz gets the sign from catcher Jason Kendall, and the 1-2 pitch on the way to Little Joe. And oh, look at that! So Big swing and a miss. Strike 3. So John Smoltz picks up the strikeout. And that brings up now Bobby Bonds, hitting .320, a home run, and a run batted in. Smoltz deals to Bonds. Bonds taps this one toward third, rolling up quickly, but the low throw gets by Todd Helton. His second error, and the second error of the year by Scott Rowland. Score that one E5. Bobby Bonds now in scoring position at second base. Brings up Pete Rose. Rose is riding a 7-game hitting streak here in the Decades League. Smoltz peers over his shoulder at Bonds, looks home, has the sign. 2-2 pitch. Swung on. Ground ball base hit to right. Guerrero up with it, fires it in quickly. Runners at the corners, so they're holding Bobby Bonds at third. And brings up Michael Jack Schmidt. And what a start to the season he has in game number 10, but hitting .387, already 4 home runs, 12 runs batted in for the greatest third baseman of all time. All right, Smoltz works out of the stretch in the 1-2 pitch. Oh, and Schmidt looks at one at a big swing and a miss. Looks at one out of the strike zone that he sort of chased. So 2 down, John Smoltz looking to get out of this inning, but he's got to get past Jimmy Wynn, the toy cannon. Center fielder, not off to such a great start batting average-wise, hitting just .143, but he does have 2 homers, 7 runs batted in. Smoltz brings it, 3-0 pitch, and he loses Jimmy Wynn. So Smoltz not quite out of the inning, and he's got to face the catcher Ted Simmons. Simmons, formerly of the St. Louis Cardinals, hitting .333 on the season with a home run and a run batted in. Bobby Bonds at third, Pete Rose at second, and Jimmy Wynn at first. Bases sold out for the 1970s, 2 down here, top of the first. Smoltz out of the stretch, and the 1-0 pitch swung on, and this one line to left, and that will do it. So Smoltz gets out of the inning. How about that? This one hit right to Gonzalez out there in left field. So no runs, 1 hit, an error. They leave them loaded. We played a half inning, the 1970s nothing, the 2000s coming to bat. We'll look at the starting defense here for the 1970s, and then we'll look at the one for the 2000s when we go to the top of the second. So in left field, Pete Rose. In center field, Jimmy Wynn, the toy cannon. And right, Bobby Bonds. At first base, Steve Garvey. At second, Joe Morgan. At short, Dave Concepcion. At third, Mike Schmidt catching Ted Simmons. And on the mound, Fergie Jenkins. All right, leading off here for the 2000s is Derek Jeter. Jeter hitting just .176 with a home run and 2 runs batted in. Jenkins has the sign from Ted Simmons. Here is the wind to end the pitch. Jeter first pitch swinging promptly. Hard ground ball base hit past short into left. Rose up with it, gets it into Concepcion, and Jeter is aboard. Jeter with 25 steals coming into the beginning of this season. All right, here's former Bucco catcher Jason Kendall hitting .333. Home run, 3 runs batted in. Good crowd here today at Cleveland. 2-0 pitch on the way to Kendall. Kendall, oh, look at that. So the stolen base for Derek Jeter, and that's his first one of the season. So we talk about steals, and Derek promptly pilfers second. All right, runner in scoring position now for the 2000s decade. And Jason Kendall back in the box. Jenkins, 2-1 delivery, line drive, base hit into center field, and they're going to have Jeter pulled up at third. So Jimmy Wynn with a decent arm there, and that ball not terribly deep. Runners at the corners, nobody out. Jenkins in a little bit of trouble here in the bottom of the first as Todd Helton comes to the plate. Helton hitting .222, just a run batted in. We expect Todd Helton to start lighting things up. So the lefty stands in. Jenkins brings it from the stretch in the 1-0 pitch. And this one, base hit into left field. Rose up with it. And coming in to score is Derek Jeter in the 2000s. Tally first here. 1-0 your score for Luis Gonzalez now. Kendall at second, Helton backing up at first. Luis Gonzalez hitting just 100 with 4 runs batted in. And again, appreciate you guys hanging out and catching some early Monday afternoon baseball if you're at work or whatever you're doing. All right, Gonzalez, first pitch swing and cranks this to right, but Bobby Bonds on his horse tracks it down. First out of the inning, runners retreat to their stations. All right, right fielder Vladimir Guerrero starting the season with a .259 average, a home run, and a run batted in. Guerrero, if he gets on base, has some speed. Kendall at second, Helton at first. Jenkins peers in, shaking off Simmons, now has the sign he likes, the 1-1 pitch. Guerrero swings, and this one is going to be smacked down the left field line, rose up with it, and 2 RBI will come in to score and we got one. No, it's just 1 RBI. Houghton tagged out by Ted Simmons. So just 1 run on that double for Vlad Guerrero, but 2 outs. So Guerrero will move to third on the play on Houghton at the plate. And here's Alfonso Soriano, third baseman. Wow, what can you say? He is just 2 for 33. So the manager of the 2000s may need to have Soriano take a few days off, and he's batting 6th in the lineup. Maybe move him down to number 8, move Jones up, see what happens. All right. From the stretch in the 1-1 pitch. Oh, and Vladimir Guerrero. This one is a pass ball. Gets past Ted Simmons and into scores Vlad Guerrero. So 3-0 now in the bottom of the first. As I've said, the 2000s decade recently starting to get all the cogs and sprockets turning. Soriano back in the box now. The count 2 balls, 1 strike. Fergie Jenkins brings it home, and Alfonso Soriano, big swing and a miss, and comes up empty. But big inning for the 2000s as they get 3 runs, 4 hits, no errors. We've played 1 inning. It's 3-0. Now let's look at the starting defense for the 2000 squad. In left field, Luis Gonzalez. In center, Andrew Jones. In right field, Vladimir Guerrero. At first base, Todd Helton. At second, Alfonso Soriano. At shortstop, Derek Jeter. At third base, Scott Rowland. Jason Kendall wearing the tools of ignorance. And John Smoltz pitching. All right, Steve Garvey, Dave Concepcion, and Fergie Jenkins do up the 7-8-9 hitters for the 1970s. All right, Smoltz has the sign from Jason Kendall. Here is the wind. 1-0 pitch. This one, chopper to second. Soriano to Helton, textbook 4-3 putout. 1-0. All right, here's Dave Concepcion now. Concepcion with a 156 average. He has 4 runs batted in. Greg Gorecki coming in. Hey, how you doing, Greg? He says nothing better than afternoon baseball. Absolutely. Does Out of the Park Baseball have pitch-by-pitch mode? David Baseball Demos asks. Yes, it does. As does this game. So, yes, you can play that game as Greg is answering. Yes, it does. It's really fun to play that game in pitch-by-pitch mode, Dave. Let me give you a little tip. So when you are playing pitch-by-pitch mode, so foul balls will not always be caught. Now, if you're playing in batting mode, right, and it's another, I should say, playable foul balls, sometimes they won't be caught. They'll be dropped in pitch-by-pitch mode in Out of the Park Baseball. But if you're playing in batting mode and it's a playable foul ball, the ball will always be caught. So, but it's a fun game to play in pitch-by-pitch mode. I've done a few broadcasts in pitch-by-pitch mode. It's a crazy amount of work, but it's fun. All you have to do is go into options. Actually, not even in options. Even when you're in game, there's a little switch that you can just hit right there, right by the scoreboard, and you can switch in and out of pitch-by-pitch mode or at-bat mode. I like pitch-by-pitch mode, especially if there's a no-hitter going or really crazy tight game. All right, back to game action as Dave Concepcion's just aged 3 months because of all my babbling. Smoltz brings it. The 1-0 pitch, Concepcion connects, but just when a dribbler to short, Jeter plants. Close play at first, but they do get Concepcion. All right, so 2 up, 2 down now for Fergie Jenkins. Jenkins not exactly known for the bat, hitting 200 on the season. In this file, coming into the season, a home run, 10 runs batted in, a 165 average. Smoltz deals to the Hall of Famer. Jenkins, routine fly ball to center field. Andrew Jones. Wow, looks like Andrew Jones has a twist under the wind, but makes the play. Great play, number 3 for Andrew Jones in the season. Side retired. No runs, no hits, no errors. We go to the bottom of the second inning. The 2000s lead the 1970s 3-0. And Greg saying, hoping our homeboy Fergie settles down in the next inning. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm obviously rooting for the 1970s here, too. All right, Scott Rowland now and Fergie Jenkins. Just what a great pitcher, great guy all around. Love following his social media feed. Just such a gracious person he seems to be. All right, here's Scott Rowland hitting 265 with a home run, 2 runs batted in to lead it off here for the 2000s. So the 7, 8, 9 hitters is going to be Rowland, Jones, and Smoltz. All right, Fergie Jenkins thus far with a strikeout in the game in 1 inning of work. Fergie brings the 3-0 pitch behind Scott Rowland, and he misses him. So Rowland taking a pitch high and inside, and on 4 straight pitches, Scott Rowland gets the free pass. Has yet to steal a base in this season, but has 11 coming in from last season. Here's Andrew Jones now. Jones, also an abysmal start to the season for him, just 3 for 31. He does have a stolen base, a run scored, and a double. Rowland, a few steps off first. Jenkins checks the runner, throws over. Rowland dives back ahead of Garvey's tag. Jenkins once again checks the runner, looks home, has the sign from Ted Simmons, the 1-1 pitch, and this one drilled to left, but back on it is Pete Rose. All right, so 1 away now for John Smoltz. John Smoltz, 1 for 4 in the season thus far at the dish. Jenkins brings it home, 0-1 pitch, bunted, Schmidt up with it, fires onto Morgan, covering on the play, and Scott Rowland sacrificed to second. So potential 4th run for the 2000s at second base. Derek Jeter now, we're back at the top of the order. Jeter, 1 for 1, singled back in the first. Ted Simmons sets the target. Fergie Jenkins with the delivery. Jeter first pitch swinging and promptly hard ground ball, base hit into left field. Jeter picks up the RBI. Scott Rowland scores. And Fergie not settling down, apparently. 2 outs now. 1 in for the 2000s. Score 4-0. Here's Jason Kendall, and he singled. All right, Simmons, again, ready to go. Fergie rocks and fires the 1-2 pitch to Jason Kendall. Kendall, shallow fly ball on the infield, and the kid, or Joe Morgan, little Joe, pulls it down for out number 3, but another run scores on 1 hit, no errors. 2 in the books here at League Park in Cleveland. This park, one of the backdrops painted by War Game creator Gary Grigsby, who's also a big baseball fan. All right, top of the 3rd here, and we're back at the top of the order for the 1970s. Joe Morgan, Bobby Bonds, and Pete Rose. So Morgan struck out back in the first. Smoltz with 2 strikeouts in the game. 1-0 pitch, and Morgan sends this to right field. Vladimir Guerrero pedals back a few paces and gloves it for the first out. Bobby Bonds now. He was safe on a throwing error. That was the Scott Rowland error. So Bonds 0 for 1. Smoltz brings it 1-1 pitch, and this one hit high to center field. Andrew Jones ranging over to his left, and he will one-hand glove it for out number 2. All right, Charlie Hustle 1 for 1, singled back in the first. The only hit for the 1970s so far. Otherwise, what has been a potent offense so far, Smoltz shut him down. But again, we're just in the early goings. Count full on Rose, and Rose lines this one to right. Base hit over the head of Soriano into right field. Guerrero up with it, fires it into Soriano. Pete Rose at first with 2 down, and Michael Jack Schmidt with a chance to cut this lead in half right now. Schmidt struck out back in the first. Look at determination on the fearsome third base slugger's face. Smoltz brings it, 0-2 pitch, and Smoltz challenges Schmidt, and Schmidt comes up empty. So Steve Reich out. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, a man left. We go to the bottom of the 3rd inning. Your score still 4-0 in favor of the 2000s. And we will see the number 3, 4, 5 hitters, Todd Helton, Luis Gonzalez, and Vladimir Guerrero. So Greg says he saw Fergie pitch many times during the summers he would spend in Montreal. Man, what a treat that would have been to see the great Fergie Jenkins. Wow. All right, Todd Helton 1 for 1. It was an RBI that scored Derek Jeter back in the first that began that 3-run first for the 2000s. All right, Jenkins brings it, the 0-1 pitch. Helton connects, driven to right, and right into the glove of Bobby Bonds. So 1 up, 1 down now. Luis Gonzalez 0 for 1 in the contest. Flew out deep down the right field line his last time up. Fergie Jenkins wasting no time. 1-1 pitch. And this one, ground ball base hit past Joe Morgan into right. So that's the 6th hit for the 2000s decade. JT Dutch. Hey, how you doing, JT? Great to see you, man. Little afternoon baseball here on a Monday since I work Tuesdays through Saturdays. Felt like coming on, doing some baseball and hanging out with everybody for a little bit. All right, Guerrero, RBI double that scored Jason Kendall, but Rose with a strong throw, able to gun down Todd Helton at home, to preventing a run, or it would be 5-0. So Jenkins looking for his first scoreless inning here. He gave up 3 in the first and 1 in the second. He brings it, the 1-2 pitch to Vladimir Guerrero. Guerrero bouncing ball to short, but Schmidt will take charge. Long throw to Steve Garvey, and that's out number 2. Gonzalez moves to second on the play. Alfonso Soriano now 0 for 1 strikeout against Jenkins. Jenkins has issued a free pass to accompany his lone strikeout in this game. 2-0 pitch. Soriano swings hard. Line drive into center. This one a rope out there. Jimmy Wynn plays it on the hop. Coming in to score is Gonzalez, and Fergie is not going to get that scoreless inning. It's now 5-0. We'll ask the chat whether we should consider a relief pitcher for Fergie. We'll let you guys decide. Down 5 runs already. Greg says, I'm doing well over here. Thank you, JT. Hope you're doing well over there. And hopefully, more importantly, you're safe. I know you guys got some rain out there, which is good to hear. Those wildfires are ridiculous. I will just make one comment, and if it honks some people off, tough. I think that the current president using politics to provide aid to a state that is one of the major contributors in taxes and for emergency relief, and California gets back much less than it puts into the government. I think it is absolutely abominable of this president to politicize these wildfires. That being said, I hope that my friends out there in California are safe. Feel badly for those who lost their homes, certainly, and for the terrible destruction of, so many animals died in that, and homeless and what have you. So let's hope that the federal government will do its job and help out California. All right. So here's Scott Rowland now. Soriano on it first. JT Dutch saying that he thinks Jenkins should be pulled. Don't care if he's feeling good. He'll feel better in the shower. I'll tell you what. Let's go. And here's who we have. So, JT, since you made the decision, you can make the call. So we got lefty Tug McGraw, and then for right-handers, we got Seaver, Gossage, Fingers, and Ryan. And then we'll look at why Barry Bonds is not in the lineup. Well, natural disasters are not political things. I don't care if you're left or right, Fires burn. Fires don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, an independent, conservative, liberal. It doesn't care. So just get these people helped. And again, it's not like California sponges off the United States. California could be its own country with its economy. So that's what I have to say about that. All right, so what do you say there, JT? Who are we going to bring in? So looking at the metrics here, it looks like the best bet's going to be Nolan Ryan. Second choice could be Goose Gossage. Probably not Seaver. Probably don't want to bring in Seaver. All right, we're going to go with Nolan Ryan. All right, let's bring on the Ryan Express and see if he can staunch the hemorrhaging here. Just wasn't Fergie's day, but he'll be back to pitch another day. Looking at Nolan Ryan here. Oh, first we're going to look at that 1970 or the 2000s decade roster. Let's see where Barry is. So Barry is on the inactive list. Injury, that's why he is not in. Jeff Kent also out. So it would have been fun to have Barry and Bobby facing each other. But yeah, he is right now on the inactive list. All right. Nolan Ryan making his first appearance of the season for the 1970s. All right, Scott Rowland steps in. And here we go. Scott Rowland. Oh, the throw down. Soriano is safe. So 2000s bringing a little running game action here. Runner in scoring position. So 3 runs in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the third. They're looking to put up the crooked number now. Here's Roland back in the box. The count, 1 ball, no strikes. Nolan Ryan brings it home. Scott Rolen swings, and indeed, that's a base hit and an RBI single for Scott Rolen. And it is now 6-0. We may invoke a mercy rule here pretty soon. But 1970s, not a team to be trifled with here. All right, moving right along here. Andrew Jones fly to deep left. All mercy rule means is we'll advance it a few innings. So we'll finish out this inning, and then we'll move it to the 6th. Because we've got other good games we can play, too. Ryan deals. And swing and a miss, strike 1. So they were trying to see if Roland had larceny in his heart. But Scott Rolen, a little bit too cagey for that one. Nolan Ryan deals. And this one, base hit to left. Scott Rolen will move to third. Runners at the corners. We'll let John Smoltz bat. 1-2 pitch. And John Smoltz will take the hill, pitching a 2-hit shutout. It's 6-0 2000s. We're going to go ahead and, of course, we're going to hide the scoreboard. And we're going to go quick. And we're going to zoom. Let's go to the end of the 6th. See if things have changed. It's just getting worse. It's 8-0, and we're just going to go ahead and quick this one out. But before we do, let's look at scoring summaries here. So I got to remember to turn that part off. So let's see. Back in the first, so Jeter singled, Kendall singled, Helton singled after the stolen base of course, Jeter stealing second. So that was an RBI that scored Jason Kendall. Gonzalez flew out. Guerrero with a double that scored Jason Kendall. Pass ball that allowed Vladimir Guerrero to score. So that was those 3 runs. In the second inning, Derek Jeter with a single, RBI single that scored Scott Rolen. The third inning, you guys just saw. In the fourth inning, so let's look at the 5th, another run. So Andrew Jones was hit by a pitch that moved Scott Rolen to third after his walk. And then Jeter with a sacrifice fly that scored Scott Rolen. So we're going to go ahead and quick play this one out. I don't see the 1970s coming back on an 8-run deficit. Just don't see it. All right, end of game. And here we go. And indeed, it remains 8-0. And John Smoltz gets the win, goes to 1-2. Fergie Jenkins gets the loss, falls to 1-2 for the 1970s, who now fall to 5-5. They had a really strong start to the season. No runs, 3 hits, no errors. For the 2000s, they brought the lumber today and got the job done. All their scoring done in the first 5 innings of the game, but clustered 8 runs on 13 hits and 2 errors. So looking here, no home runs at all in this game and no triples. In fact, in this entire game, there was only 1 extra base hit, and that was by Vladimir Guerrero. All right, let's have a look here at pitching. So Fergie went only 2 2/3, 7 hits, 6 runs, 5 earned, walked 1, struck out 1. So rough start for the great Fergie Jenkins. Nolan Ryan worked 3 1/3 in relief, 3 hits, 2 runs, both earned, walked 5, struck out 6. Typical Nolan Ryan. How about that? And then Tug McGraw came in and worked 2 innings and struck out 2. John Smoltz goes the distance, a beautiful 3-hitter by him, including 11 Ks. So John Smoltz obviously is going to be your player of the game, but highlights for the 2000s, Guerrero 2 for 4, 2 runs batted in. Jeter 3 for 4, 2 runs batted in. Gonzalez goes 3 for 4, and John Smoltz is indeed your player of the game. All right. So no use going through the torture if we don't have to. Jeff Kent was not pleasant to deal with when he played within Toronto, says Greg Recchi. So Greg says Ryan was good out of the pen until he became a starter. JT just says there's going to be a lot of teams hovering around 500 when everything is said and done. I think you're right. So just looking at things right now, the 1980s at 8-2, but we do have a little bit of a cluster there, the 70s and 90s. The 19th century, just because of the way this thing's normalized, I'm not surprised they are where they are at 2-7. The 1900s kind of surprised me just being at 3 and 6, but it's a lot of fun so far. And let's see what we have here as far as doing maybe one more that's going to be a little bit more fun to watch. All right. So Cousin Ken Castro not here, so we're going to autoplay the 19th century game. And the 19th century edges the 1920s 4-3. Radbourne gets the win. Epireksi takes the loss. The great George Sisler goes 2 for 3 with 2 runs batted in and a triple. That leaves us with the 1900s versus the 1930s. Jack Cheeseborough versus Lefty Grove. And we're going to play this one. And we will human manage 1900s. All right. So Cheeseborough comes into the game 0-2 with a 3.94 earned run average. Lefty Grove 1-1 and a 1.06. Second game of a quick doubleheader on the way. And let's go ahead and just let the computer do the lineups, except I'm going to make one change here. I'm going to take Bobby Wallace out, and I'm going to put Hannes Wagner in because I don't think he's getting enough playing time. So, and Wagner, certainly the better shortstop. I mean, not knocking, not knocking Bobby Wallace, deserved Hall of Famer. So you give up one little bit in defense, but I think you gain a bit with Wagner. And again, I want to see him with more playing time. Let me see who else. I'd like to start Elmer Flick. So we're going to give Buck Freeman. All right. And let me see who else. What else do we got here? Jimmy Sheckard. I think Jimmy Sheckard needs to be in a little bit. Jimmy Sheckard's got to get some playing time. Sheckard, an excellent left fielder in the dead ball era. We're going to move Jimmy down a little bit. Bradley up. Kling is pretty good where he is. All right. So let me see. Center field. Jimmy Barrett. So we got a couple injuries. Going to give Bresnahan the day off. I think we got pretty good here. All right, let's do it. Hey, Dwayne Martz, welcome in, buddy. Dwayne Martz doing some baseball last night. He was so absorbed it took him an inning to see I was there, but it was nice to see ID Jester in the chat as well. All right, and here we go. So this is the nightcap of going to be a shortened twin bill because of that route in game number 1. So at League Park, we've got the 1900s versus the 1930s. The 1930s on a 5-game win streak right now. Great Jack Cheeseborough takes the mound for the 1900s. 2 starts in the year, 0-2. ERA of 3.94. And opposing him will be Dizzy Dean, the man who famously said he slid into third and they took x-rays of my head and found nothing. So there we go. 2 starts for Diz in the year, and he's 2-0, ERA of 2.84. So we have just a little zephyr going out to center field at 1 mile per hour. Otherwise, nice clear day. And let's play ball. All right, looking at the starting defense for this 1930 squad, again on that 5-game winning streak. In left field, Ducky Joe Medwick. In center, Earl Averill. In right field, Big Poison, Paul Wainer. At first base, the Iron Horse, Lou Gehrig. I probably should have taken human control just to give Jimmy Fox some playing time. Jimmy Fox is on the bench in this crazy league. At second base, Charlie Gehringer. At short, the great Archie Vaughn. At third, Harlan Clift. Catching, Black Mike, Mickey Cochran. Dizzy Dean on the mound. Leading off here, center fielder Roy Thomas. Thomas hitting 200 with a run batted in. Dean has the sign. Yeah, I thought this was supposed to be Lefty Grove, but I guess last-minute substitution, and we got old Diz. 2-1 pitch on the way to Thomas. And thanks for coming in, guys. 9 people hanging out for some Monday afternoon baseball. 2-1 pitch, and this one promptly hammered out of here by Roy Thomas, the 1900s, with a home run, short right field porch here, very high fence here at League Park. But Roy Thomas goes yard, and already a tally on the board. All right, now batting Nap Lajoie. Lajoie hitting 250, home run, 5 runs batted in. Anybody who was a member of the McGreevy League or followed the McGreevy League will remember that Lajoie was an absolute beast in that league. All right, let's see how Diz recovers after giving up this first batter home run. 1-2 pitch, hard hit ground ball, pass short into left. Medwick up with it, fires into Vaughn, and Lajoie aboard, and Lajoie dangerous. No stolen bases yet in the season, but 23 coming into the season. And here's the Flying Dutchman, Hannes Wagner. So Wagner hitting 296, 2 home runs, 2 runs batted in. This would be a perfect hit and run, but I'm not managing these teams, but I would definitely call a hit and run here, or even a run and hit. Lajoie with good speed. But here we go. Diz deals. Nope, Deals throws over, and Gehrig's tag too late. Dean has a good move to first. Cochran sets the target. Diz brings it. And the throw down, the pitch out, and Cochran, just a bit of hesitation as he's coming up, and he doesn't get Lajoie. So Lajoie with a stolen base in the 1900s with a runner in scoring position, and already a run in, thanks to the Roy Thomas home run. All right, the Flying Dutchman back in the box. The 1-0 pitch. Wagner swings, base hit to right. Wayner up with it, and a Pirate hitting to a Pirate. They're going to hold Lajoie at third. Interesting choice. I would have sent Lajoie. Runners at the corners, and that brings up the first baseman, Fred Tenney. Fred Tenney off to a good start in this season, hitting .316. All right, speed on the base paths for the 1900s, and nobody out. Dizzy in trouble early here. Out of the stretch, count even 2 balls. 2 strikes, curveball, base hit. And Lajoie will come in to score. Fred Tenney with an RBI double, and it's 2 runs on the board now for the first decade of the 20th century. So Hannes Wagner at third, Fred Tenney behind him at second, and here comes Elmer Flick. Elmer Flick is a Hall of Famer that just lots of people should learn more about. This was a tough dude. Got into some dust-ups with the guy that scored earlier on there, Nap Lajoie. The two did not like each other very much. But Elmer Flick, seeing limited action in the season, hitting .333 with 2 runs scored. All right, Flick is a left-handed hitter. Diz works out of the stretch, count 4, and Elmer Flick. Elmer Flick, good eye up there, draws the walk. Dizzy Dean could be in some serious trouble here now. Here's Bill Bradley. Bradley is 0 for 10. So Diz looking to maybe give up the run to try to turn 2 here from the stretch. First pitch swinging, ground ball to Archie Vaughn. Vaughn to Gehringer, but they will not turn the double play. Hannes Wagner will come in to score, and big old 3 spot up there here in the top of the first inning. So how about it? Yeah, he wasn't Daffy. You're right. So Dizzy and Daffy. So Dwayne says he just got done with game 3 of the Giants Astros. I usually check if people were on, and I forgot, Dwayne, that you could have been on. I'm so used to you and me having kind of different work schedules and stuff like that. So I'm sorry I missed that. And I'm sure you were rooting for the Astros in that one. Dwayne Martz has absolutely no love for the Giants, whether they be San Francisco Giants or the New York Giants. So there we go. Maybe what we'll do on Super Bowl Sunday baseball extravaganzas, we'll replay the Bobby Thompson shot heard around the world game. I'll pick one of the baseball sims and we'll play it. Brooklyn Dodgers versus the New York Giants. And we'll do it in honor of our good friend Dwayne. And Dwayne will be rooting against Bobby Thompson in that game, I'm sure. All right, 1 down, runners at the corners for Jimmy Sheckard, late of the Chicago Cubs. Jimmy Sheckard making his first appearance of the season. Jimmy Sheckard, one of those players that deserves some highlighting. A player that folks should know about. One hell of an excellent outfielder. and part of those great Cub squads of the 1900s. All right, Dean out of the stretch in the 1-0 pitch. Jimmy swings, hard ground ball, Gehringer to Vaughn, but they are not going to turn two, and coming in to score is Fred Tenney. 4 runs on the board. We're going to see if Dizzy can gut this out. Again, this is going to be up to the computer anyhow. So looking at Diz's numbers, though, in this file, 2.99 earned run average, 21 wins, 12 losses, 5 saves, a 248 average against, 5.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. All right, Dizzy now to face Johnny Kling. Johnny Kling hitting 267, including 4 runs batted in. Kling, one of those rare catchers with some decent speed, too. All right, Dean checks Sheckard at first. Sheckard, again, coming into the season with 38 steals from last season, we'll call it. I'm tired of saying in this file. It's immersion breaking. All right, here's the pitch. Johnny Kling swings in the first pitch, and frozen rope out there to center. Earl Averill drops the ball, gets to it, score that one in E8, and the 1900s just are pouring it on here. 5 hits in the inning off of Dizzy Dean. Jimmy Sheckard at third, Johnny Kling at second, and the pitcher's up now, Jack Cheesebro. Cheesebro 1 for 5 in the game. He has a home run, or 1 for 5 in the season. I'm sorry, guys. Including a solo home run. All right, here we go. Diz from the stretch again. The 1-2 pitch, and Cheesebro, little hopper to Arky Vaughn, who sets and throws to Lou Gehrig, and the side is finally retired. But 4 runs, 5 hits, 1 error, 2 men left. We go to the bottom of the first, the 1900s, 4 in the 1930s coming to bat. Looking at the starting defense for the 1900s. In left field, Jimmy Sheckard. In center, Roy Thomas. In right, Elmer Flick today, getting the start. At first base, Fred Tenney. At second, Nap Lajoie. At short, getting the start today over Bobby Wallace, Hannes Wagner. At third base, Bill Bradley. Catching, Johnny Kling, giving Roger Bresnahan the day off. And on the mound, Jack Cheesebro. Monster numbers for him, too. So 21 and 12 with a 2.44 earned run average. In the season, a 3.94 earned run average. He's 2, but strikeouts. He struck out 9 batters last time he was up, or the last time he pitched. Big Poison, Paul Waner will leave it up. And I recently added his brother, Lloyd Waner, to this roster. I think he deserves to be on here, and we'll do a game sometime. In fact, one of the games we'll be doing also in Super Bowl Sunday Baseball Spectacular. This is the 100th anniversary of the Pirates' 1925 World Championship. So we're going to play at least one game of that World Series between the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Washington Senators, the defending world champion Washington Senators from 1924, their only world championship. All right, Big Poison hitting 286 with 2 runs batted in. I've done it, David. JT Dutch obviously has no love for the Giants. And that's perfectly understandable being a Dodgers fan. I can see that. It is. Hey, there, cousin, had I known you were here earlier, I auto-played the 19th century game, and they won. So you'll be happy to know about that. So this is nice to see afternoon baseball. I'm going to try more and more to try to do some Monday afternoon baseball since I don't work Mondays. So, all right, continuing on here. So, yeah, that'll be one of the things we'll do a little bit, just because I don't do a lot of Pirate games on the channel, even though I'm a Pirate fanatic. Do want to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the 1925 Pittsburgh Pirates World Championship. All right. Of course, in 2 years, I'm going to have to commemorate them getting slaughtered in the 1927 World Series. All right, here we go now. Jack Cheesebro ready to work. And Paul Waner opens up the festivities in the bottom of the first of the 1930s with a nice little ground ball base hit. Elmer Flick playing it on the bounce. So Paul Waner at first, the great Bucko right fielder, already has a stolen base in the season. And here's the great Charlie Gehringer, second baseman for the 1930s, hitting 273 with a run batted in. Just a little tiny breeze going out here. Beautiful day for baseball at League Park. I'm going to let you guys The next time we do this, I'm going to let you guys choose a different park. We've done League Park now for 10 games. Now we're going to switch this to another park for a backdrop. So you guys can pick a modern ballpark or, I mean, whatever. If I have the park, that's what we'll use just to switch it up through this fun thing. Greg says, I think we can bypass 1927. Yeah, I think we can. Not only for the Pirates getting slaughtered, but I don't know. No slam on the 1927 Yankees, but I have 1927 Yankees fatigue. They have to be like the most, when people are playing older baseball, that has to be the most overplayed team in baseball sim history. I don't care if you're playing cards and dice or digital, or you play both. Too many 1927 Yankees. So I absolutely agree with you, Greg. All right. All right, let's get back to things. Wayner with a pretty good lead off first, but he's got to watch because Johnny Kling has a pretty decent arm back there behind the dish. Cheesebro checks the runner. 2-1 pitch on the way to Gehringer. Gehringer skies this to left field. Jimmy Sheckard ranges in and makes the catch. So one away. Big Poison retreats to first, and here's the Iron Horse, Lou Gehrig. What I usually do, the 1930s, is I'll sometimes override the manager if I have them set to computer, because I want to split time between Lou Gehrig and Jimmy Fox. Having Jimmy Fox sit on the bench is just hurtful. But I'm not setting lineups for these. I'm letting the computer do it all. But it's just weird to have Jimmy Fox sitting on the bench. No knock on the Iron Horse, of course. But right now, Gehrig not off to a good start. Home run 5 RBI, but hitting just 179. Cheesebro deals 0-1 pitch. Gehrig connects. Routine ground ball. Lajoie to Wagner to Tenney. And there you go. That is an inning-ending double play. And the 1900s lead this one 4-0 as we head to the top of inning number 2. The 1900s at 3-6. The 1930s at 6-3. Lefty Grove was supposed to start this game, but we had a late inning substitution. And Dizzy Dean on the mound. So let's see if he can settle down. The 1900s opened the game with a home run by Roy Thomas. All right. And in fact, that very same Roy Thomas, we're back at the top of the order. So homer last time to lead it off. Big 4-run inning for the 1900s for joining late. Thomas began with a solo home run. Lajoie singled, stole second. Hannes Wagner singled. Fred Tenney with a double that scored Lajoie. Elmer Flick drew a walk. Bradley grounded a short that forced Flick, but Wagner scored in the play. Jimmy Sheckard grounded, and that allowed Tenney to score. And then Johnny Kling with the single and an error. And then finally Cheesebro grounds out to end it. But 4 runs. Was it 1926? Yes, that is. I have mentioned that so many times on my channel, David. Yep. Babe Ruth, for whatever reason, and Babe Ruth earlier in his career, I mean, could steal some bases. It wasn't like he was this, the slower kind of Babe Ruth that we saw, or that people saw in the late 1920s and into the 1930s. But for whatever reason, yep, Babe Ruth, and it wasn't even close. So, and that was the St. Louis Cardinals, their first time ever in the World Series. They were absolutely lousy in the dead ball era, but won their first of many World Series. Of course, the National League team with the most World Championships. So, yep, I would love to know why. Who knows? But that was it. Game over, man. Game over. John Alcama, how did I set up my screen? Are you talking about placement, John, where I put things? Because I know for a lot of people that play Action PC, they like pitcher batter down here. I like the pitcher up here because the way I look at the game, the way I call the game. So basically, let's go to is under miscellaneous. Where is it? Scoreboard. I'll find it for you in a second, and I'll show you how you can just move things all over the place. Is it under more options? I always forget how I do this until I do it again. There we go. So when you go into game preferences, display, this is where you can switch from full screen to 3/4 screen. So a lot of guys like 3/4 screen because you get to see a lot more stats. Play call box, you can choose either left or right side. whether it's wide or small, its height, both teams, and then pitcher stat box right here. You can choose below scoreboard, top corner, bottom corner, or none. So that bottom corner is usually down there on the left, or you can choose to not have it there at all. And that's the same with the batter. So I like the batter down here, pitcher up here. So this is your screen to do it. As far as setting up your fielders, your player displays, this is what I like. A lot of guys like having the pictures on the fields. I find that it gives me like an acid flashback. We'll leave it at that. So this is how I set things up. I like just the names. I like to have and I like to have their rating. And for the outfielders, also showing the arms. So that's how I do it. It works. It works for me. If I have the pitcher down here, I get completely lost. I only use the play-by-play if there's a play that doesn't. I'm not quite sure what the hell happened. So I usually don't even look at this thing. So hopefully that helps. This is my settings. I'll leave these here if anybody wants to pause and go back. This is how, so I don't have any ballparks assigned to teams. So this is where I could just set up a different park right now to play this. So we could switch out a league park right now, but it'd be my luck that, it's the park's probably not set up. So for those of you that just are doing something like this, but you don't feel like, you can just set something else, so I could switch this into the Polo Grounds or whatever, and we would just go. All right. And there's your boxing reports color. Again, I think this is, really, really nice to go in, tailor-made what you want to do as far as that goes. You can set your opening screen to do a whole bunch of things. So you can set it to default to play, to show rosters, database, leaders, draft, encyclopedia, and your seasons that are installed and seasons to install, whatever. So lots in this game, almost as deep as Out of the Park Baseball, almost. There's your miscellaneous screen. So David talked about pitch by pitch. Let me just touch on this and we'll get back to the game. So in Action PC Baseball, you can switch back and forth just as you can in Out of the Park Baseball. But in this, you can also, right here, pitch by pitch mode, right? So let's say for bases empty, you never want pitch by pitch mode and runners on, right? Never, whatever. But you can set this to pitch by pitch mode to start maybe at inning 7, 8, 9. You can pick where that happens, if at all. Or you can set that by score, or you can just choose always or never. So right now I have it set at never, but in game I can change that. Okay. There's your display type for the great matchup analysis there. And then these run estimates, you'll start seeing a box appearing here in the 7th inning. I'm sure if you're an Action PC Baseball player, you've noticed that. This is how you set all that up too. Okay. Yeah, Babe really shouldn't have had the green light. I mean, wow, I don't know. I've got to check, look at Sabre, see if Sabre has any articles about that 1926 World Series, because that's just weird. I don't even know who was it bad. I don't know if it was Lazzari that was a bad or whomever, but yeah, I guess Miller Huggins kind of there, a little brain fart. I don't know the story, but I do know it wasn't close. All right, Roy Thomas now. He's been waiting for 3 years to hit. Diz deals 2-1 pitch, and Roy Thomas follows his home run with a hard hit ground ball base hit to right. Aaron Reed joined us. Hey, Aaron, how you doing, buddy? All right, here's Napoleon Lajoie now. So beloved, he had a team named after him. He singled back in the first. Roy Thomas, since he hit that home run, we didn't get a chance to see him as a base stealer. 27 coming into the season, and 1 stolen base thus far in the season. Dizzy Dean checks the runner, comes home with it, and this one's a rope to left. Medwick up with it, and he is unable to get Roy Thomas. So runners at second and third, and here comes Hannes Wagner, who's 1 for 1. The 1900s out to play some serious ball here today. Wagner with a single back in the first. Wagner would eventually score. Dean from the stretch in the 2-2 pitch. Wagner swings, hard hit fly ball. Averill has it, tagging at third, coming in to score. is Roy Thomas. Great play by Averill, getting to that ball up against the wall. Little bump Bailey action there. But another run in for the 1900s, and it's now 5-0. Fred Tenney now at the plate. RBI double that scored Napoleon Lajoie. Dean brings it home. 0-2 pitch, and Fred Tenney unable on the rip and the mess to catch up to the Dizzy Dean fastball. So now 2 down for Elmer Flick. Flick drew a walk back in the first. 2-2 pitch to Flick. And Elmer Flick looks at one at the corner for strike 3, but the 1900s pick up another run. 2 hits, no errors. Bottom of the second, 5-0. The 1900s over the 1930s. And it will be Mickey Cochran, Earl Averill, and Arky Vaughan. So Mickey hitting just 161 in the young season. 3 runs batted in for him. Kling sets the target. Cheesebro toes the rubber. The 1-1 pitch. Cochran swings. Base hit into right field. And Flick covering a little bit of territory there. Moving into the gap to get that ball. Cochran aboard. Mickey not known as a base stealer. 6 at the beginning of the season. And here's Earl Averill now hitting just 192. So Cleveland fans would certainly like to see Earl do a little bit better. 5 for 26 overall. He does have 3 RBI and a stolen base, though. So Cheesebro, cursory glance over to first. The ball comes in. Yep, 1-0 pitch. Routine fly ball. Jimmy Sheckard has it all the way, calling off Roy Thomas for out number 1. And here comes Arky Vaughan, tutored by the man that he is facing out there at shortstop, Hannes Wagner. Arky Vaughan, one of the great shortstops all time in baseball. Vaughan off to a really nice start here. 364 average with 4 runs batted in for Arky. 0-2 pitch. And Arky Vaughan, big rip and a miss. So Cheesebro looks like he's dropping a little hammer action there. So 2 down for Ducky Medwick, big fan of those Detroit Tiger fans in the 1934 World Series, or a great favorite of them. Tongue planted firmly in cheek. Ducky hitting 194, a home run, 3 runs batted in. Mickey Cochran at first, 2 away here in the bottom of the second. Cheesebro deals the 0-2 pitch. Medwick swings, fly ball. Thomas back on it, and that will be out number 3. We go to the top of the third inning, and it's the 1900s 5 in the 1930s nothing. Truth Hurts Wilkie joining us here at League Park, and he says, heard his name pronounced by some as Lajoie. So in French, it's Lajoie, and that's how I pronounce it, as Lajoie. But I've heard people say LaJoie and Lajoie, and but looking it up, doing some research, it was pronounced Lajoie, so I'm going to stick with Lajoie. Sort of, there you go. JT Dutch says Bob Musial was batting when Ruth got nailed to end the 1926 World Series, and the catcher threw the babe out was Bob O'Farrell, who was the National League MVP that year. Boy, so again, one has to ask oneself, what was Miller Huggins thinking? It wasn't like Bob Musial was a lightweight stick. He was a pretty damn good hitter, Bob Musial. So I don't know, man. Going to be digging into Saber and anywhere else, or anybody else has anything they've read. Why did Ruth just go? Maybe it had nothing to do with Miller Huggins, because Huggins and Ruth had an interesting relationship for sure. Maybe the babe just wanted to steal a base. I don't know, man. So weird. All right. Of course, they came back in 1927, obliterated the Pirates, did the same to the Cardinals in 1928. So there you go. I guess the Babe Ruth got his comeuppance after all. All right, Bill Bradley up here now. So grounded out his last time. That did allow Hannes Wagner to score. Base is empty here in the third inning. All right, waiting on deck is Jimmy Sheckard. And Bradley, big cut and a miss. So Dizzy Dean picks up his 3rd strikeout, but he needs to keep these bats quiet. Here's Jimmy Sheckard now, former Cub left fielder. Tenney scored on last time in his ground out. 3-1 pitch. Diz gives up the walk, and that's Dizzy's second free pass of the game. And here's Johnny Kling. Johnny is 1 for 1 RBI, or not an RBI single, just a single and an error that allowed him to move to scoring position. Johnny Kling did not score, however. 1-0 pitch. Kling swings, bounding ball up the first base line. Gehrig to Vaughn. Hard slide by Jimmy Sheckard, and they're not going to turn 2. So 2 away now. Cheesebro 0 for 1, grounded to short to end the inning last time. Full count, and Cheesebro sends it to center field. Averill says, "I've got it," and indeed he does. No runs, no hits, no errors. We go to the bottom of the third. First scoreless, the first time the 1900s has been held scoreless in this game. It's 5-0. Harlan Clift. The 1930s need to probably juggle some things up. So Harlan Clift off to an absolutely terrible start. 2 for 29. One of those excellent St. Louis Browns players, but Clift just a 2 for 29 start, 2 RBIs and a run scored. Clift would like to pick it up here. For Jack Cheesebro right now, working on a 2-hitter. Again, we're just in the first third of this game. Cheesebro deals, 1-0 pitch, and Harlan Clift gapper into right, and he's going to go for 2, and he's going to make it. So Harlan Clift looking to start to go in the ascendancy for his batting average as Diz comes up now. So Dizzy Dean, 1 for 7 on the season. In this game, on the season, I should say. Cheesebro deals 0-1 pitch. Diz gets the bunt down. Cheesebro's only play will be to first. Lajoie covering. Harlan Clift moving to third on the play. 1930s threatening to get their first run and get rid of the goose eggs up there, huh? All right, back at the top of the order now for Big Poison. Paul Wainer lined a single to right back in the first. From the stretch, Cheesebro delivers in the 2-1 pitch. Wainer absolutely drilled this out to left, but Jimmy Sheckard makes the play. Tagging and coming in to score is Harlan Clift. So Wainer with the sac fly RBI. The 1930s get on the board in the bottom of the third, 5-1. Charlie Gehringer now strides to the plate. 1930 second baseman fly to shallow left back in the first. Cheesebro twirls. 2-0 pitch. Popped in foul ground, third base side. Giving chase is Hannes Wagner, and he makes the play. Side retired, but 1 run, 1 hit, no errors. We've 3 in the books here in Cleveland League Park. 5-1, 1900s. Gehrig on deck. So that is crazy too, right? So again, by the interviews that I've read and accounts that I've heard of from pitchers back in the day, and again, this is Gehrig's kind of rate, second season, whatever, but Gehrig was actually even more feared than Babe Ruth. And so, I mean, you know, you got Ruth on first, Gehrig on deck, Musial at the plate. I think, I don't care. I mean, if I had Ty Cobb on first, I don't even know, because you're taking the bat out of, you know, Musial's hands. You're taking, you know, and let's say Musial strikes out. Well, okay, I don't even know what how many outs there was, whatever. But that's just curious with Lou Gehrig on deck. Jeez. All right, wish I knew why. All right, back at the top of the order, Roy Thomas. Hell of a game he's having. A home run and a single so far. All right, he's seeing Dizzy Dean very well, obviously. 2-2 pitch. Thomas does it again. Frozen rope up the middle. Gehringer trying in vain to get to that ball. Third hit for Roy Thomas today. And here comes Napoleon Lajoie. Singled his last time up, and he's 2 for 2. All right, Thomas into his lead. Dean checks the runner. And Lajoie rope into left. And Lajoie, getting a little bit greedy, is thrown out. So good play out there by Earl Averill to gun down Lajoie. And on the play, Roy Thomas, though, moves to third. So the 1900s trying to pick up a potential run number 6 as Hannes Wagner comes to the plate. The Flying Dutchman 1 for 2. Starting today instead of Bobby Wallace. Dean out of the stretch. 3-1 pitch. And he's going to walk Hannes Wagner. And, of course, Wagner has yet to steal a base this season because he's seeing limited action. But 48 coming in to opening day, 48 steals. And here is Fred Tenney. He's 1 for 2. So Fred Tenney hitting 333. And if Cousin Ken was managing that team, I definitely would feel a hit and run coming on here. All right. So Tenney in the box. Diz out of the stretch. Tenney, first pitch swinging. Nope. Throw down by Cochran. Not in time. And the Flying Dutchman gets his first steal of the season, 2 in scoring position. As Fred Tenney back in the box. Infield in at the corners. Clift at third. Gehrig at first. So they're looking bunt from Tenney. Perhaps a squeeze? Who knows? Dean from the stretch. 0-1 pitch. And after all that, Fred Tenney, big swing and a miss. So 2 down. What can Elmer Flick do here? He has walked and struck out. Dean brings it. 1-1 pitch. Flick swings. High fly ball center field. Earl Averill pulls it down in the 1900s. Squander a great opportunity. We go to the bottom of the 4th. 5-1. And it'll be Lou Gehrig, Mickey Cochran, and Earl Averill. Gehrig, nothing for 1. Grounded into a double play last time. 0-2 pitch to the Iron Horse. Easy ground ball. Lajoie to Tenney. 1 up, 1 down. Mickey Cochran, 1 for 1. Singled over second. 1-0 pitch. Cochran swings. And base hit, right field. Flick playing it on the short hop. Earl Averill, 0 for 1. He gave it a ride to left center back in the second. Cochran leads off first. Cheesebro checks the runner. Deals. 1-1 pitch. Long fly ball to center. Roy Thomas on his horse pulls it down. Cochran fakes going to second, but holds. All right, 2 down now for Arky Vaughan. Arky Vaughan, whose life cut tragically short. But what a great, great player he was. Played most of his career with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I believe finished his career with the Brooklyn Dodgers. So Vaughn with a whiff in this inning. Cheesebro, that is the only batter that Cheesebro struck out, is the man at the plate now, Arky Vaughan. 1-0 pitch to Vaughn. Vaughn swings, grounded deep to short. Wagner, so Pirate retiring a Pirate. That ends the inning. No runs, 1 hit, no errors. 4 in the books, and it is 5-1 for the 1900s. Joe Murdy, haven't seen you in ages. Welcome in, dude. All right. So we'll put up here JT Dutch to say, the only thing I think of is that Grover Cleveland Alexander was on the mound. Yeah, true. So none of the Yankees were touching him. And when Alexander was on, right? I mean, so that's one of those great gutsy performance in the 1926 World Series, right? Because Alexander wins the day before. Day before, Alexander wins, celebrates that night. Remember also by this, I mean, Alexander also shattered by the First World War. The man is shell-shocked. But anyhow, he is called on, and he comes in, I think in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. He holds this powerful Yankees lineup, just impotent, man. And one of the great performances in World Series history. And we talk about Schelling, we talk about a lot of these other guys, but 2 of the greatest of all time, Alexander in the 1926 series, and also Walter Johnson in the 1924 World Series. 2 great performances. Anyhow, to continue, none of the Yankees were touching. Maybe Ruth or Huggins felt like he needed to make something happen. Yeah, it could very well be. Could very well be, JT. I'll take that. Joe Murdy says, I know it's been a while. Got strategy on the PC. Turns out 7-zip wasn't on there. Don't know what happened. So it turns out 7-zip wasn't on there. Do you mean you didn't have the program 7-zip? Okay. Is strategy baseball working for you, though? If not, let me know. 2025 has been interesting thus far. I hope it's been good for you, my friend. Good to see you, Joe. Joe, a 19th century and dead ball fan. So, all right. But we love you guys that love modern baseball, too. Good God. All right. Bill Bradley, Jimmy Shecker, Johnny Kling do up the 6, 7, 8 hitters for the 1900s. I'm going to override the computer, as I said I was going to do, just to get Jimmy Fox some playing time as well. All right. Hopefully you guys won't mind if I do that. Okay. Oh man, we got Hank Greenberg there too. Let's tell you what. Let's bring in Hammer and Hank. So Lou Gehrig will get to sit down. Nothing wrong with Lou Gehrig. He's not had a great start, but you got Greenberg and Fox in the bench. You got to use them too. All right, Bradley, nothing for 2. He's grounded out and struck out on the ground out. Wagner able to score. Diz deals. And then we'll change this back to computer. 0-2 pitch. And dropped. Third strike by Cochran, who fires hard down to Greenberg for the drop K. All right, let's get this back to the 1930s being computer managed. Cool. Alexander was just an awesome pitcher, says JT Dutch. I know, right? A tortured soul. He's not scared of that lineup at all, considering what he faced in the Western Front. Yeah, so, that's a really, really good point, JT. So while Ty Cobb and Christy Mathewson both served in the First World War, they were captains. And of course, tragic what happened to Christy Mathewson during a training exercise was exposed to, I don't know whether it was mustard. I think it was mustard gas. I don't think it was the chlorine gas. I think it was mustard gas. And of course, Mathewson, his lungs were seared so badly and died just a few years later. But Grover Cleveland Alexander was a private and fought on the Western Front. And the man, I mean, just what a sad life. What a sad life. And yet, for all the adversity that Grover Cleveland Alexander faced, he overcame like an absolutely true immortal. And again, go back and read for yourself or watch, in the Ken Burns documentary, they do a devote a beautiful few minutes to Grover Cleveland Alexander's 1926 sheer absolute just guts, fortitude, whatever, man. He is the pantheon. He is one of the true immortals of baseball, and I'd have him on any starting lineup at any time, drunk or sober, shell shocked or not. All right, Jimmy Sheckard up there now. Sheckard 0 for 4. Diz deals 1-2 pitch to Jimmy, and this one a called strike 3. Johnny Kling now up 2 down, and Dean settling in, but perhaps a little bit too little, too late. He deals 1-0 pitch, lazy fly ball to left. Medwick will track it down. We go to the bottom of the 5th, and it's 5-1, and we will see Ducky Medwick, Harlan Clift, and Dizzy Dean. Medwick fly to center back in the 2nd. Cheesebro thus far just 1 strikeout. Fly ball to right and at the wall, and making the catch is Roy Thomas, calling off Elmer Flick. Great range out there by Roy Thomas in center field. So David says he's about to drop the $15 for Pocket Pennant Run. PC Companion looks too juicy. It's fun. There's still some issues Craig said that they're working on, but I think it's worth it, man. What a steal. JT Dutch saying in Ken Burns baseball, Alexander coming into Game 7 of the 26th World Series, the music that was playing and the narrative that was read during that moment, it'll bring a tear to your eye for sure. Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Okay, so Joe Murray saying that strategy baseball seems to be working well so far. Waiting on a job to start. I was on a seasonal job a while ago. So what I'm waiting for is supposed to be more money and more permanent. So that'd be good. Absolutely, Joe. I just want to remind you, strategy baseball, be very aware of what, different times you have to close windows at different places. So same holds true for pure sim baseball. So I know. So Alexander make it to about 1950 or so. I think maybe God, and as Murphy's saying, trying to give him some years, but wow, what a great one, huh? If they would have been in the same league, it would have been amazing to see. How about a game, pitcher's duel between Walter Johnson and Grover Cleveland Alexander, that would have been one for the ages to have those two guys, right? Because we, in the dead ball era, we talked so much about Three Finger Brown and Christy Mathewson and their great battles, which Brown actually in those matchups had one more than Mathewson, if memory serves. Or how about Addie Joss against Grover Cleveland Alexander? Good stuff. But you know what? I mean, Alexander had to duel great pitchers like Mathewson and Brown. So, it wasn't like he had an easy time of it in the National League by any stretch of the imagination. And I would argue that Grover Cleveland Alexander, a huge reason with that crazy, go look at his 1915 season on Baseball Reference and look at that season. And I really think that he is perhaps 93% of the reason why the Phillies made it to their first World Series that year. Not to knock the Phils, but Alexander was a monster. Look at that 1915 season and tell me that isn't greatness. Oof. All right, Harlan Clift, 1 for 1 with 1 down. Dizzy Dean waits on deck. Don't know if he'll bat, but we'll see. Harlan Clift doubled his last time up. Cheesebro deals. Clift swings, high fly ball, center field, and backpedaling on it is Frank Thomas, bringing it down. All right, that little 1 mile per hour Zephyr now calm here in Cleveland. Dizzy Dean is going to hit for himself. 1-1 pitch, grounder to Tenney. Tenney feeds on to Cheesebro, and side retired. No runs, no hits, no errors. 5 in the books here in Cleveland. It's 5-1 in favor of the 1900s. So we'll see the 9, 1, and 2 hitters, Cheesebro, Thomas, and Lajoie. Cheesebro in the game has grounded out and flown out. Dizzy Dean, 0-2 pitch against the mound opponent, and Cheesebro had no chance at that curveball. Here's Roy Thomas back at the top of the order, and this guy's got to be player of the game, even if the 1900s lose it. Ahead 5-1 right now. 3 hits today, including a first at-bat home run. Can he go 4 for 4 against old Diz? 2-2 pitch. Thomas swings, not going to happen, and it'll be Greenberg to Diz. There's another guy with 3 hits today, Napoleon Lajoie. 1-0 pitch. Lajoie swings, long fly ball to left field. Medwick back at the wall, leaps, and makes a great catch out there in left field. No runs, no hits, no errors. We go to the bottom of the 6th, still 5-1. JT just said, I found excellent luck with Pure Sim and Strategy Baseball running in administrator mode. Good point, guys. Running in admin mode. There's a couple things to be careful of with those games, that there are some easily reproducible crashes, but for the most part, they're going to run well for you, and they're fun games, and they complement one another easily. The one that's more full-featured is Pure Sim Baseball, but the one that's easier for setting up for ballparks and logos because it does it automatically is Strategy Baseball. So get them both, guys. They're free on the Discord. They are free. So get them. Nathaniel Lentz joining us. Nice. So Nathaniel says, it makes me think of a movie called All Quiet on the Western Front. That movie was an example of what Grover Cleveland Alexander went through his personal life. I couldn't agree more with you, Nathaniel. Good to see you. And, of course, even more harrowing, you're talking about the movie. And, of course, one of the greatest anti-war novels ever written by Eric Maria Remarque is the latest version. I think it came out in 2019 of All Quiet on the Western Front. That movie is... So if you guys remember seeing Saving Private Ryan, well, All Quiet on the Western Front 2019 version it's brutal. Even the music is jarring. It's unsettling. It's one of the most brutal movies you'll ever see. It doesn't sugarcoat, and that's the way that Eric Marie Remarque would want it, because that book pulls no punches. All right. You know what sticks out in my mind really quickly, reading All Quiet on the Western Front, was the screaming of the horses that he talks about. One of the many things. And remember, at the time that he wrote that remark, he was subject to a lot of. I mean, it was almost as if Germany wanted to crucify him for writing that book. It took amazing courage for him, because a lot of reports coming back from especially from the Western Front, going back to back to the United Kingdom, back to France, whatever, they were trying to sort of sugarcoat what was going on, but even though there were maybe some fewer casualties than the Second World War, I still always hold that the First World War was the most brutal conflict ever fought on this planet. And Grover Cleveland Alexander was in the thick of it. Eddie Grant in the thick of it, killed on the Western Front quite a few baseball players. All right, anyhow, let's get back to happier things, baseball. So Paul Wainer here with an RBI sacrifice to score Harlan Cliff back in the third. So he's 1 for 2. Cheesebro deals 0-1 pitch to Big Poison. And this one up the middle, but great diving stop and from the knees play by Nap Lajoie under Fred Tenney. 4th grade play for Nap Lajoie. Shouldn't be shocked by that. So 1 away now for Charlie Gehringer. He's flied out and popped out. Cheesebro brings it home. 0-1 pitch. Gehringer this time. Hard ground ball. Lajoie quickly feeds onto Tenney for the 4-3 putout. Out number 2 now. And Hank Greenberg now in for Lou Gehrig, because we have 3 great third basemen in the 1930s team. So Hammer and Hank, again, such limited action. He's just been used as a pinch hitter. He got 1 start in this league. I'm sorry, 1 for 3. So Hammer and Hank hitting .333 with 2 RBI. Every home run I hit, he said, I hit against Hitler, and went on to serve, of course, in World War II. 0-1 pitch. Greenberg, hard hit ground ball. Plenty of time for Hannes Wagner to gobble that one up and throw it along with a handful of rocks from the infield. Side retired. We go to the top of the 7th, 5-1. So it hasn't been an exciting game, but a good time to at least talk, especially about Grover Cleveland Alexander. So let's dedicate this game to his memory. All right, Hannes Wagner, 1 for 2, including a walk and an RBI in this game. Diz deals 1-2 pitch to Wagner, and Wagner hopper to Greenberg, and Dean getting over there in a hurry and just beats Wagner to the bag. 1 away now. All right, here's number 4 hitter, Fred Tenney. He has struck out twice, but an RBI double in this game way back in the first. 1-1 pitch. He swings. 2 hopper to short. Vaughn up with a close play at first, and they're not going to get Fred Tenney. So Fred Tenney aboard with 1 down now. Elmer Flick, who was nothing for 2, flew out his last time up. Diz deals. And to throw down, Fred Tenney's got it stolen all the way. So Cochran with 2 missed opportunities there. 2nd stolen base in the season for Fred Tenney. And Flick back in the box. The count, no balls, 1 strike. Here's the pitch. And this one gapped into right. Coming around to score is going to be Fred Tenney. Elmer Flick with the RBI double, and it's 6-1 now in favor of the 1900s decade. Oh my God. No, don't ever apologize. No. We talk about anything here, Nathaniel. You should know that. So there's no sidetracking, man. It's all good, man. Thank you. Thank you for talking about that and reminding us of how horrific the First World War was. A war that's forgotten by many Americans, but in 10 months in the First World War, 110,000 American casualties. That's twice as many as Vietnam. I mean, that's alarming, crazy. And yet, it took us until the centenary of that war, the ending of that war, to finally have a national World War I monument. So, yeah. Thank you for that reminder. All right. So Bill Bradley now at the plate with 1 down, Elmer Flick in scoring position. The 1900s, 4 in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the 7th. 6-1 lead thus far. 11 hits for them. No errors for them, but 1 error, curiously, for the 1930 squad. How about that? All right, Bill Bradley has fanned twice in this game. Diz works home. Bradley, first pitch swinging fastball, high fly ball to right, and the place where hits go to die, right into the glove of Big Poison, Paul Wainer. All right, here's Jimmy Sheckard now, struck out his last time up. But Sheckard able to get a run home on a force play. Count full. Jimmy Sheckard draws the walk. Dizzy Dean now has issued 4 free passes to accompany 7 Ks in this game. 2 down. Johnny Kling, 1 for 3, getting the start over the Duke of Tralee, Roger Bresnahan. Cochran out to have a quick work. Black Mike behind the plate again. Dean deals the count full on Kling. Oh, my goodness. Dizzy Dean in trouble. And the Beatles stream can turn into an impromptu chin wag. No kidding, right? If you guys have PBS documentaries, there's a great part of the film called The Great War. I do. So I do. I haven't seen that yet. World War I is kind of as far as modern day, that's kind of the era that I study more than I have a lot of books in Second World War, but the First World War was marked an absolute change in everything. It changed everything. It was the war that defined the modern era, as we know. Guys, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the chat and we're going to override the computer here because I think Dizzy is done, man. So we're going to let you guys pick a relief pitcher for Dizzy Dean. So let me bring that up. Got a lot of folks on here. So let you guys have a look. I'll just let you know what the analysis tool is saying is that Lefty Grove is probably going to be best in this situation. So go ahead and let you guys pick. I'd love for Ken Burns to do a World War I documentary. In my eyes, Ken Burns can do no wrong. I mean, fantastic documentaries. I mean, I think the Civil War probably is still his magnum opus, but baseball, certainly the war, right? World War II, jazz, all that stuff, great stuff. Greg Gorecki calling for Robert Moses, Lefty Grove. He have a fiery temperament will come in. Another guy that you want to look at, somebody who was absolutely insanely dominant in the 1930s. Remember, this was a hitter's era too. Look at Lefty Grove. And again, when Robert, RGO Network, and I have our friendly debate, his assertion is Sandy Koufax, greatest left-hander of all time. I'm countering with Lefty Grove. Look at that record. Sick, just sick. All right, bases sold out. Let's put this back on. And I'm not knocking Sandy Koufax. But my contention is that Grove dominant through virtually his entire career, whereas Koufax pours it on for 5 seasons, which is enough, right? That dominance to get you in the Hall of Fame. And great pitcher, left arm of God. But I think Grove deserves the crown for greatest lefty of all time. And there are certainly other great lefties. Steve Carlton. I decided not to go with Rube Waddell because I didn't want to do a dead ball pitcher. So hopefully he and I will have that fun debate, nothing mean or anything like that. Burns' Vietnam War is fantastic, says JT Dutch. Yep, Pete York, Robert M. Grove. How about it? This guy used to rip up locker rooms when his team lost. Bad temper, but sheer dominance. And had quite a bit of an arsenal of pitches. Wasn't afraid of anybody. All right, so Grove ready to deal now to Cheesebro. 2-2 pitch. Cheesebro swings. That's going to get caught by Earl Averill. So 7th inning stretch time. It's 6-1. And we're back. Absolutely, man. And I mean, you look at like Grove. And so you had that 1929, 1930, 1931 Philadelphia A's juggernaut put together by Connie Mack. And I mean, 1929, right? I mean, they just all over. I mean, and so you guys, about Lefty Grove. He's not afraid of Babe Ruth. He's not afraid of Lou Gehrig. He wasn't afraid of that murderer's row. And then you add into the mix not only Jimmy Fox and Al Simmons, but geez, Max Bishop, Jimmy Dykes, over there doing third base and stuff like that. Connie Mack put together a hell of a team, but Lefty Grove definitely locking it down, and a hell of a pitching staff they had. But Grove just head and shoulders. Grove and Carl Hubble, pitchers in the 1930s. That Steve Tate had brought this up quite a few times in some of his broadcasts. We were talking about dominant pitchers in hitters' eras, and the names Grove and Hubble come up very, very frequently. So, David, I asked that the other day. Let me put this up here. Wonder who the bozo was that didn't vote for Ichiro Suzuki, right? I don't, right? I mean, okay, again, Mariano Rivera, awesome. He's in the Hall of Fame. He gets 100%, the first player to do so, right? So 100%. Ty Cobb didn't get 100%. Babe Ruth didn't get 100%. Whatever. Ichiro, 1 vote shy of 100%. What? I don't know. In these uncertain times, that baseball writer probably just better hope that nobody finds out. And that I'm just talking, that is not a physical threat. I'm not going to go and do the guy in or something like that. But his social media account would blow up like crazy. I'd love to know. I'd love to know that. Is that like a conclave, like when they select a pope? Is that like those votes secret? I don't know. Ichiro should have been 100%, but still so happy that Ichiro Suzuki's in. So now JT and I, okay, he says he thinks Ichiro is overrated. Perfect votes, I don't know. Well, my thing is, if a relief pitcher can get 100%, I think Ichiro, to me, was not overrated. But again, I think we can agree to disagree, my friend. But, unless JT Dutch was the baseball writer, that we don't know. Maybe JT Dutch is a baseball writer. Maybe he's the guy that was the 1 vote shy. So Greg says probably a Yankee writer. All right, Mickey Cochran. Mix a perfect 2 for 2. Black Mike with 2 singles in the game. All right, here we go. 0-2 pitch. Cochran swings, and this one is going to go all the way to the wall in left field, giving chase out there. Jimmy Sheckard. Cochran is going to hold second. They're charging Clift with a poor play, and I really, really don't know why that is. But anyhow, 3rd double for Black Mike in the season, and here come the 1930s now. All right, with nobody out and a chance to get a second run in here in the bottom of the 7th inning, Earl Averill has flown out twice. Cheeseboro has the sign, the 0-1 pitch to Averill, and this one, Wagner to Tenney on the play. Cochran will move to 3rd. 1 down now for Arky Vaughn. Arky is struck out, grounded to short. From the stretch, Cheeseboro works home. 2-0 pitch. And Vaughn, little tapper to second. That's going to be enough to get Mickey Cochran home. The 1930s scored their second run. It's 6-2. Pete York asking if, hey, Pete, says if Bill Conlon is still voting. JT says if he was a voter, Barry Bonds would be in the Hall of Fame. So thanks to you guys, I've kind of changed my position on that. I was really dead set against Bonds and Clemens being in the Hall of Fame. But you know what? Baseball was in a bad place after that 1994 strike. And along with the great Buck O'Neill, who the Hall of Fame did some dirt to him, by the way. Let's face it, guys like Bonds, Clemens, Sosa, they brought people back to the ballpark. And, somebody did point out to me too, and I had the advantage of seeing Barry Bonds when he was a Pittsburgh Pirate and didn't look like, what's a big bulky dude in football, like a linebacker, right? He had this very more lithe physique. It could steal bases like crazy. He's a couple years in San Francisco and he gets to be like, looking like a wrestler. But, as somebody pointed out, even with performance enhancing drugs, you still have to be able to do the most difficult thing in professional sports, and that is to hit a major league, right? To hit a pitch in baseball, right? And especially at the major league level. And let's face it, if you're such a dangerous hitter that the opposing manager intentionally walks you with the bases loaded, he is baseball's all-time leader, home run leader in numbers, though sentimentally, I still like to give that title to Hank Aaron because of the PEDs. But yeah, let's get them in there, get Bonds in there, put a little thing on his plaque about the PEDs if you want to. Let's get the Rocket in there, and let's get Shoeless Joe and Pete Rose in the Hall as well. They are deserving as players. McGwire, I think McGwire's an interesting thing for me. And let's just take a moment because we're talking some baseball here. Let's look at McGwire for a minute and let's see what the jury says here about good old Mark. So good career for Mark McGwire, certainly. Let's bring him over here for you guys. So McGwire, four times he led the majors in homers. And so back in 1987, he cranks 49. I mean, he's consistent, certainly. Yeah, I think so. The thing about McGwire, of course, is that batting average, that 263 lifetime batting average. That's not enough to keep him out of the Hall, though. Certainly. Yeah. But certainly, I think Barry Bonds first, certainly, but definitely McGwire, a fantastic player, and I wouldn't argue against his induction. Again, those 4 times he led the major leagues in home runs. That's kind of something. It's kind of something. Again, I would give it to him, but those other 4 guys I mentioned. I think that you got to get Clemens, you got to get Bonds, you got to get Jackson, you got to get Rose in the Hall before you can start talking about McGwire. And again, you've got Babe Ruth with a 342 lifetime batting average. We look at some other guys here. So Mark McGwire, lifetime home runs, 583. So just very, very quickly, let's look at a guy that is a hero of mine. Let's look at Jimmy Fox. All right. So Jimmy, right? Jimmy is a lifetime 325 lifetime batting average. Jimmy hit 534 home runs. Now he only led the majors 3 times in home runs, but Jimmy, better batting average. There's a big difference between 265 and 325. So, Bobby Bonds, I've thought about that myself, Greg, and I wouldn't argue against Bobby Bonds being in the Hall of Fame. I think it's a bad thing that Keith Hernandez isn't in the Hall of Fame. I find that curious. Robert will go on a whole homily about that, but he's right. So that's why for me, McGwire could be in. But when you get somebody here like similar numbers and a shorter career, I think, about the same career, I think Jimmy Fox is kind of the guy that you've got to, when you're looking at McGwire, you got to look at Jimmy Fox. And let me see, where is McGwire? So McGwire not, right? So as far as similar batters, all Hall of Famers, let's go back and look at McGwire, who's compared to here, and let's see. Oops, I went too far down. So yeah, he's not compared at all to. He's compared to 2 other Hall of Famers, whereas Jimmy Fox, everybody he's compared to is a Hall of Famer. So he is compared to Harmon Killebrew. Oh, and how about this? So ironically, Jose Canseco, the guy that kind of blew it all open, right? Killebrew and Stretch. Now I'll say something else about Mark McGwire, though. So Mark McGwire, let's go all the way back up here, way back up, Mark. So Mark did something that Jimmy Fox didn't do. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. So Mark McGwire in his rookie year in 1986 hits 3 home runs. Jimmy Fox and his holy hell, what the hell happened there? Anyhow, Jimmy Fox in his rookie season 1925. Jimmy Fox. God, let's go back up here, man. I'm cursed today. Jimmy Fox did not hit any home runs in his rookie year. In 1926, no home runs. In 1927, Jimmy Fox hits 3 home runs. So no home runs until his 3rd season. So McGwire's got that on Jimmy, certainly. But then Jimmy goes on to just tear it up in ridiculous ways. Look at it. Look at his WAR in 1932, 10.4, led the majors. Decided I'm going to do it again in 1933. Does it? 1932. What a great season for Jimmy Fox. But even as late as 1941, Jimmy Fox is still cranking some homers. 58. That 1932 season again. 2 games. There were 2 games that were rained out that Jimmy Fox homered. So as early as 1932, I think wasn't he it was either he or Greenberg that was the first serious threat to Ruth's 60 home runs. Pete York, Fox in a different type of juice. Yeah. Jimmy also dying very young. His 50s, choked to death. Ugh. Terrible, right? Still think Mattingly should be in. Strong arguments for Don Mattingly. Koufax, Mattingly was dominant for 5 or 6 years. Yeah. Fox easily clears McGwire in career value, and Jimmy was far better in the postseason. Yep. And again, Mark, we thank you for helping to bring the game back. We do. We really, really do. All right, I'm going to leave baseball reference minimized just in case we want to muck about. All right, let's get this done. I know folks have other things they'd rather be doing. Joe Medwick, nothing for 2 as we start the, or here we are, 2 out in the 7th. Flown out twice. Cheesebro deals. Count 1 and 2 to Medwick. Medwick swings. Deep drive and a leap and grab by Roy Thomas. Roy Thomas, he is player of the game, man. Roy Thomas, what a day he's having. Second great play of the season for him. And that retires the side. All right, 7 in the books here, 6-2 in favor of the 1900s. Lefty Grove will face the top of the order: Roy Thomas, Napoleon Lajoie, and Hannes Wagner. All right, there is Grove. 0-1 pitch. Thomas swings. Base hit past Vaughn into left. So Roy Thomas with his 4th hit today. And here comes Napoleon Lajoie. Lajoie 3 hits. He flew out his last time up. Grove deals, and this one, little tapper out in front of the plate, fouled off of Cochran's mask, according to, this is when I do look at that. All right, the count, no balls, 1 strike on Lajoie, popped high in the air, and Cochran flings the sides of the mask and makes what they say is a great play. So toward the screen, but didn't look like it here. We'll say great play. All right, 1 down. Thomas remains at first. Hannes Wagner 1 for 3, has a stolen base in this game. Does he have a stolen? No, he doesn't have a stolen base in this game. I'm sorry. Thought he did. Maybe he does. All right, base hit for Wagner into left. Thomas is going to hold at second. So 2 on now for Fred Tenney. Fred Tenney in the game is 2 for 4. Infield single last time up. Grove brings it. 0-2 pitch. Tenney, big rip and a miss. Cuts right through that one. So Lefty Grove picking up a strikeout. 2 down now for Elmer Flick. Flick, his last time up, had the RBI double that scored Fred Tenney. 2-2 pitch on the way. And Elmer Flick fooled badly. So Lefty Grove comes on and gets the job done. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning, and the 1930s will send up Harlan Clift, Lefty Grove, Paul Wayner. Chat nice and active here. JT saying Mattingly was a fine player in his prime, but I don't think he was ever the best player in the league. Koufax was undoubtedly the best pitcher in baseball in his prime. Truth Earth says they wanted $100 an autograph for Mattingly Saturday night at Evansville Night of Memories. For Alan Trammell, $80. Kyle Friedland, 40, and Ryan Klesko, 25. So that's interesting. They wanted more for Don Mattingly, and yet Alan, well, as we call him, Alan Treadmill, in the Hall. So interesting stuff. Mattingly was MVP and also finished 2nd, 5th, and 7th. Pretty strong peak. I think that so I don't know, JT, if you're disagreeing about Mattingly being in the Hall. I think he should be in there. Was he what Big Clue would talk about as an inner circle Hall of Famer? Certainly not. I can't think of Don Mattingly in the same way, that I would think of somebody like Joe Morgan. So let's just stick to, more modern players, or again, different positions, but, Johnny Bench, just those words. But Mattingly certainly, I think, deserves to be in the Hall. Definitely. And bigger price than Alan Trammell on Evansville Memories Night. So that's pretty fun. So for JT saying that he thinks Mattingly is Hall of Very Good. I think a lot of people give that assessment to Bill Madlock as Hall of Very Good. I am so chuffed as a Pirate fan that Dave Parker is finally in. But though I'm not a Phillies fan, I don't hate them, but I'm a crime committed by the Hall that should have been long ago addressed, whatever you want to say. Dick Allen, finally in the Baseball Hall of Fame. What the hell? Finally in the Hall of Fame. I was so happy to see that breaking news that day, that the Cobra and Dick Don't Call Me Richie Allen, but Dick Allen, man, should have been in ages ago. Harlan Clift, 1 for 2. I have to remember to turn that off. I keep forgetting to turn it off. All right, 3-1 pitch, and Harlan Clift draws the walk. So Clift aboard, and here comes Lefty Grove. So we're going to put this up to the chat. Dick, don't call him Richie Allen. Exactly, Aaron. Truth Heart says Mattingly was a senior at Memorial High School. Never struck out once. He was also a very good quarterback. His older brother played football in the Canadian Football League. Thank you for that. Truth Hurts Woodley. Yeah, he said when he was a senior. Got that. Thank you. Guys, I'm going to switch it over here. You're down 6-2. And again, I have the computer managing Lefty Grove, and sometimes it's going to do it. You got Harlan Clift on first. I don't know. I would say I'm going to bring it up, let you guys say, do we pinch hit for Grove? He said, JT says, yeah, I disagree completely about him being a Hall of Famer, but Allen was a terrific hitter, but he was lousy and everything else. Well, we're going to say, I have to say his name. Harold Baines in there. And Harold Baines, Dick Allen. I'm sorry, man. This one to me is a little bit stronger disagree, my good friend. I just believe Dick Allen should have been just in there. And he is in now. So that's cool. Took them a little bit too long for Dave Parker, but I would have, and Dave Parker, certainly a much better. Oh my God, Dave Parker was an amazing right fielder. But I don't want to come off too strong on Parker because I'm a Pirate fan. But, there you go. Hey, MV. Yeah, Harold Baines was, he was. Pete York giving a tip of the cap to Truth Hurts Wilkie. He's in, and let's face it, we could do a whole discussion on guys in the Hall that shouldn't be in. We always talk about guys who aren't in the Hall that should be. Well, there's the opposite. And again, Harold Baines, to make it to the majors and to have a long career, You have to be an incredible athlete to even get there. We were talking about Bob Uecker the other night, and he would always his self-effacing humor, but he was good enough to make it to the majors. Joe Garagiola, good enough to make it to the majors. The athleticism that takes to make it to the show. So I'm not knocking Harold Baines, but not Hall of Fame. Not when you have other deserving players who are not there and probably never will be. All right, guys, let's talk about our options here. Whether the chat thinks that there should be a pinch hitter for Lefty Grove. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at the bench for the 1970s or for the 1930s, so we can see who's left. So you got Luke Appling, Mel Ott, Jimmy Fox. So Lloyd Wayne, Johnny Frederick, but I mean, I wouldn't really think of either of those guys coming. We've got a lot of injuries on here right now. Gabby Hartnett available to come on to hit. So I'm gonna let you guys. Dave Parker was never, no DH, no, not ever, not in this league. MV, you know that. All right, the great Mel Ott. Oh my God, Dwayne Martz. Don't forget the best shortstop in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to take your wrench away, dude. Holy shit. Two of the greatest shortstops are playing in the very game we're doing right now. Hannes Wagner and Tony Kubek. Pirate fans love Tony Kubek because he took one to the throat off the hard infield at Forbes Field in the 1960 World Series that eventually allowed Maz to hit that home run. And the Pirates win Game 7, 9-8. Tony Kubek. Dude, there's there's the Make America Great Again, but I think that Dwayne belongs to the Maya phenomenon. No, it wouldn't be Maya. Let's see. Yeah, make all Yankees. I got to think of something, but I'm going to come up with something for the Yankees. Make all Yankees. Make all Yankee. They could be mega. Make all Yankees great again. There we go. That's Dwayne. So Dwayne is the member of not MAGA, but MEGA. So there you go. Make all Yankees great again. This was too easy. I know, dude. And I was cool. And I haven't said a word about that scrub Mickey Mantle, have I? All right, Mel Ott's going to come on. You crack me up, dude. You absolutely crack me up. All right, Mel Ott coming on. Lefty Grove's day is done. And here we go. So if you guys follow the Legend Sports universe, you know Mel Ott is just an absolute terror in that league for Dwayne Martz's hated Giants. We love Dwayne Martz. We just don't know what the hell's going on with him sometimes. He's laughing. Oh, man, Dwayne, you're awesome. All right, so Mel Ott, 1 for 4 in the season with a double. But his numbers coming into the season, the .331 average, including 28 home runs, 128 runs batted in, and add on that 5 steals. Harlan Clift at first. Harlan Clift has yet to try to pilfer a base. Nobody out, bottom of the 8th. Cheesebro deals 0-2 pitch to Master Melvin, who had that weird batting stance. This one hit to Tenney. Wagner back to Tenney. And that's going to be a 3-6 double play. Ouch. Back at the top of the order for the 1930s. And it's Paul Wainer. Paul Wainer, 1 for 3. Cheesebro deals 1-1 pitch. Wainer. And this one, soft liner to Wagner at short. And Mace Brown comes on to pitch for the 1930s. The computer makes that decision. All right, Mace Brown looking at his numbers, or 2/3 of an inning in this league. Coming into the season, a 9-8 record, 6 saves, 136 1/3 pitched, 47 walks, 56 strikeouts. Mace Brown will face the 6, 7, 8 hitters, Bill Bradley, Jimmy Sheckard, and Johnny Kling. When we get to the bottom of the 9th for the 1930s, we'll see Charlie Gehringer, Hank Greenberg, and Mickey Cochrane. We may put Jimmy Fox in and take Greenberg out just so that Jimmy at least gets in a bat. 1-1 pitch on the way, and Bradley, this one up the middle, but Gehringer making a great play over there, showing why he's a Hall of Famer. Gehringer to Greenberg in the 4-3 put out. So 1 away now for Jimmy Sheckard. Jimmy Sheckard getting the start today. Jimmy, good eye up there. with an RBI and 2 walks and a strikeout. Mace Brown brings it home, 1-2 pitch. Sheckard swings, grounder to Gehringer. Gehringer to Greenberg, 2 up, 2 down. Johnny Kling, 1 for 3. Walked his last time up. Mace Brown, the righty deals. This one grounded foul, third base side. Back in the box, the count, no balls, 2 strikes. And Johnny Kling gets fooled on that one. Bottom of the 9th. And here comes Charlie Gehringer. He is nothing for 3. Gehringer swings and starts it off. Line drive, base hit into right field. Homer flick. And Roy Thomas converting flick up with the ball and getting it back in. Hank Greenberg will be replaced by Jimmy Fox. Because why not? We love you, Hank. All right. So the Beast, double X. So Jimmy Fox. Remember, Lou Gehrig is the starting first baseman on this team. Gehrig's hitting, he's below the Mendoza line. Jimmy, very limited action, but he's 2 for 3 and has a home run, 2 RBIs. So let's see what Jimmy Fox can do here for this 1930s squad. I love both of these teams. So more partial to the 1900s guys, obviously, but I love this 1930s squad. All right, Cheesebro deals to the double X. Jimmy Fox. Oh, rip and a miss. Jimmy was swinging so hard for that ball. I think it would have ended up not only in Lake Erie, but I think maybe in downtown Erie, PA. I have no idea. All right, Mickey Cochran, 3 for 3 today. The only one of the few bright spots here for the 1930s. Black Mike waits, the 1-1 pitch. Cochran swings. Tapper to short. Wagner to Lajoie. So they'll get Gehringer and Cochran aboard in the fielder's choice. 2 down. Earl Averill, nothing for 3. I think we go to the bench. I think we go to the bench again. No knock on the Hall of Famer Earl Averill, but he is 0 for 3 after all. All right. So once again, we are going to let you guys make the pick. There's only 3 hitters available: Gabby Hartnett, Luke Appling, Old Aches and Pains, and Billy Herman. Yeah, you were saying if they get the Averill spot. I just wanted to get, in case a miracle would happen, because I would have used up all the first basemen. That's why I moved Jimmy in a little sooner. All right, Old Aches and Pains. All right, so JT Dutch, Pete York, both, and Greg Gorecki. Everybody going for Old Aches and Pains. The great Luke Appling. All right, here he is. Let's look at Appling's numbers. So Appling is 3 for 10 in this league. Coming into the season, a 343 average with 4 home runs, 82 ribbies. Legged out 8 triples and stole 13 bases. Cochran out there. We don't have anybody on the bench for a pinch runner, so I think we're just going to go with this. Just, I'm not going to bring in Gabby Hartnett to pinch run, that's for sure. All right, here we go. Do or die right here. Cheesebro deals. 0-2 pitch. Luke Appling. Oh, what a great play. Great play by Napoleon Lajoie. Backhands the ball, fires to first, and that's it. Oh, man, I thought Luke Appling laced one up the middle there. That was a rope, and Lajoie came up aces on that one, guys. All right, recap here. The 1900s improved 4-6. 1930s fall to 6-4. The line for the 1900s: 6 runs, 13 hits, no errors. For the 1930s, 2 runs, 6 hits, 1 error. Jack Cheesebro gets the win, goes to 1-2. Diz, who wasn't supposed to start today, gets the loss, falls to 2-1. For the victorious 1900s decade, Roy Thomas, what a day, goes 4 for 5, including a home run. Napoleon Lajoie goes 3 for 5 with a stolen base. Fred Tenney, 2 for 5 with a double and a stolen base. And for the 1930s and losing cause, Harlan Cliff still kind of struggling, goes 1 for 2 with a double. Black Mike, really the highlight for the 1930s, 3 for 4 with a double. We had 1 home run in this game. That home run by Roy Thomas at the very beginning of the game. We had no triples again. Damn it. We had 4 doubles in this game. So doubles were hit by Fred Tenney and Elmer Flick, Mickey Cochran, and Harlan Cliff. All right, let's look at pitching here. So Cheesebro goes 9 innings, 2 earned runs, walked 1, struck out 2. Diz goes 6 2/3, 11 hits, 6 earned runs, gave up a home run, that Roy Thomas home run, 5 walks, 7 strikeouts. Lefty Grove, 1 1/3 innings worked, struck out 2. Mace Brown worked an inning in relief and struck out 1 hitter. And your player of the game should be Roy Thomas. And they're giving it to Jack Cheesebro, which I'm not. Roy Thomas gets the nod today. 4 for 5 with a home run. That's game MVP. Let's just look at the standings, because I don't think there's anything else to play for today. And I'm going to get out of here. All right, here we go. And we'll look at the upcoming pitching matchups for the next day. Yep. So just to make sure, going back to the 11th here, yep, all games played. So coming up the next time, whenever that is, that we revisit, we have the 1950s and 1990s. Pretty nice one here, Billy Pierce against Kurt Schilling. The 1920s versus the 19th century would be Red Faber versus Pud Galvin. So Carlton versus Hudson in 1970s versus 2000s. Don't know if we'll do that since we just did that game now, or those 2 pair-ups. The 1910s versus the 1940s would be Eddie Seacott versus Al Brazel. 1980s versus 1960s. This is a good one. Frank Tanana versus Juan Marichal. That could be the game we're going to do. The other one, 1900s versus 1930s. Vic Willis, Carl Hubble. We don't see Carl Hubble a lot in the channel. I may do it just because of Carl Hubble. All right, jump out of this. And let's let the standings update and see where things are. I don't think much really changed. There we go. So the 1980s still holding a 1-game lead. They're at 8-2. The 1940s, really surprising team. They're at 7-3. Tied for third, the 1930s and 1960s, each at 6-4. Playing 500 ball right now, the 1970s and 1990s. And then you got the rest. Batting leaders right now, Home Run Baker. So again, it doesn't really mean a lot. We're just in game 11. Baker leading in terms of batting average. Ernie Banks with 5 home runs. Ernie Banks with 14 runs batted in. Tim Raines has 6 steals. Dewey Evans, an OPS of 1.355. For pitchers, Jim Bunning, an earned run average of 0.33. Again, that doesn't mean a lot. Bob Feller with 3 wins already, so pretty good for him. Dan Quisenberry with 3 saves. Don Drysdale, Jim Bunning, and Hal Newhouser, each with 27 strikeouts. Feller on a 3-game win streak. Tanana and Jerry Royce, each with 2. 1940s doing it with batting, hitting 257 as a team, but just a thousandth of a point behind them are the 1970s. Team pitching in terms of ERA, 1960s leaning on their pitching, so team ERA of 2.37. 1940s leading in team, or tied with the 19th century with team fielding. That's kind of surprising, the 19th century. Your all-star team right now, the 9-man squad: Bob Feller, Gary Carter, Orlando Cepeda, Rogers Hornsby, Mike Schmidt, Ernie Banks, Pete Rose, Joe DiMaggio, and Dwight Evans. League MVP thus far is Ernie Banks, and the Cy Young would go to Bob Feller. 40s living up to that greatest generation tag. How about it? They're doing it up really well. To be honest with you, and again, it's still early times here, Pete. I didn't expect, because of, right? You had those dark wars, especially 1943, 1944. 1942 was still a hell of a baseball season. I think people underestimate the 1940s decade because of those 2 years. But, 1945, people were coming back. By 46, it's getting to be business as usual. But the reason I didn't expect the 1940s to do so well, compared to some of these other teams thus far here, and again, nothing wrong with as far as the hitters at all. I mean, geez, you got all the usual suspects on here, but it's the pitching that's kind of So not too bad, but this isn't the strongest pitching rotation here. So you got Bob Feller, all right, Bucky Walters, Hal Newhouser, Tex Hughes, and Claude Passau, right? But you compare them even to, and let's not do the obvious dead ball stuff because those guys have a deadly lineup. But the 1980s, right? So you've got Rogers, McCaddy, Martinez, Royce Tanana. So, I mean, I think you have a stronger pitching rotation in the 1980s. 1920s or 1930s, let's look at them. So 1930s, you've got Hubble, Derringer, Dean Grove, and Schumacher. So you have 3 Hall of Famers right there. But the 1940s, man, legit playing great baseball right now. It's 7-3 so far. The greatest generation. Indeed. The lost generation, however, the lost generation not really doing it, are they? So, and that would include the 1920s. So they're at 4-6. And then you got the 1900s at 4-6, and the 1910s at 4-6. So the lost generation, all the lost generation teams 2 games below 500. The boomers, though, baby boomers are doing it. Look at the baby boomers up there dominating. Guys, thank you for coming in today for some afternoon baseball and some talk about the First World War and about some great documentaries to watch and just whatever. It's always fun, man. It's like, I imagine we're all sitting around drinking Guinness or whatever your weapon of choice is, and just talking about this game that we love so much, and that we can agree to disagree and disagree to agree or whatever. Fun stuff. Greg, thank you for coming in. Hope to see you again. JT Dutch, thank you for coming in. All right. Don't have to agree 100% to have a good conversation. Amen, brother. All right. Thank you to Greg Gorecki, to JT Dutch, Pete York, Aaron Reed, the man of 1,000 voices, because you got to love that. To Dwayne Martz, the member of Mega. So thank you, MV, for coming in. And he's taking the piss on me for the DH thing. He knew that would trigger me. These guys know how to trigger me. Truth Hurts Wilkie in here today, buddy. Thank you very much for coming in. Always a pleasure to have you here. For the guys, if this is your first time in, come back 2 more times, you get a wrench. Nathaniel Lentz, see you all. We don't see you often enough around, buddy. Joe Murdy, been too long since we've seen you. David, Baseball Demos, who's with us, the heart and soul of this channel. Cousin Ken Castro here. Also, John Alcamo, thank you for coming in, John. Really appreciate it. If you're still with us, thank you. Even if you're not, thank you. Right. And Samuel Smith, who was the first in the ballpark today. Always good to see Samuel in here. Guys, until the next time, see you around the batting cage. All right. Bye-bye.